You what? How about now?
Try again. There we go.
Test it, test it.
Yep. All right.
Well, y'all missed some good stuff out there in YouTube land. Quick rundown. We're in Genesis 34th chapter.
Salakia.
Dinah, the daughter of...
Oh, Salakia. When you're watching the Sabbath service, you know what I'm saying, just verify, you know what I'm saying, the teacher is doing a lot of things, so you're just going to verify and make sure that the sound is tawab, all right?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Just help them out. Don't just sit there or whatever. Oh, the sound is good. Oh, the sound is no good. I don't hear you, sir. So make sure you present it that way, all right?
Watch, I appreciate it. So quick rundown. We're in the 34th chapter of Genesis, and Dinah, the daughter of Leah, Jacob's daughter, went out to hang out in the land. And when she went out to hang out, Shechem, which is the prince of the country, the son of the prince, saw her, took her, lay with her, which is defiling for a heathen to lay with a daughter of Israel. And after he did this thing, after he pressed up on her sister, forced her, laid with her, defiled her, the dude fell in love with her next. And now he wanted her to wife, which sounds like any abuser, which sounds like any arrogant heathen who thinks he can just take anything that he sees. And so he went to his father, the prince, saying, "Get me this damsel to wife," because he wanted, by their culture, to legitimize it and to have her permanent. Jacob heard about this. You can imagine how tore up a father is to hear about such a thing, to hear that his daughter was defiled by some nasty heathen. And while he was figuring out what to do about it, his sons came, they heard about it. The scriptures say they were grieved and wroth, grieved as a man because you weren't able to prevent your sister from being defiled, wroth because now you want to go out and avenge it and figure out what you're going to do next. And this is called folly in Israel, as the scriptures referred to us as a nation, even when we was just 12 dudes and some wives out in the middle of nowhere. We're referred to as a nation because Israel is a people. It's not a place. There can be white people over there in the land called Israel right now, and they're not Israel, because Israel is the people wherever we're at. That's why we call this Jerusalem right here, because this is the center of our nation. This is where all of our people converge. This is where our culture emanates from today. Because Israel is a nation of people. And so now we're in verse 8, and Hamor communed with them. Now this is the dude's father, the prince. He came all the way out to see Jacob, and he's communing with them, and he says, "The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her him to wife, and make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you," which is what I was breaking down, when we realized there was no sound. It sounds like he's making some great deal with them, right? But remember, this is just a dude and his 12 sons and 4 wives. So really, he's just making it sound good. He's offering them a deal to smooth it out. In verse 10, "And ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein." And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, "Let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say to me I will give." So he's coming, he's saying, whatever you want, I'm going to give you. I just want your daughter. And he's about to find out that he can't have our daughter. Verse 12, "Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife." And never so much, if any of y'all read Shakespeare, that's just an old way of saying, ask me whatever you want, as much as you want. Verse 13, "And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully, and said, because he had defiled Dinah their sister." Verse 14, "And they said unto them, we cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us." And so now we're going to go back to the Hebrew. When we come back to the English, we're going to find out the setup that they're making right now, because they're setting them up. We're going to come right back. Verse 15 in the Hebrew. "Akbazaath na'awath lakum am thahiwa kamanwa Lahamal, Lakum, Kal Zakar, verse 16, Wanathunwa, Ath Benathinoa, Lakum, Wa'ath, Benathikum, Nakwach, Wanawa, Waishabnua, Athkum, Bahiyanwa, La'im Achad, verse 17, Wa'am La'ah, Dashemaiwa, Aliyanwa, Lahamawal, Walakwachnua, Athbathnua, Wahalakanwa, verse 18, Wayatabwa, Debaryahum, Bayanya Hamawar, Wabayanwa, Shacham, Bun Hamawar, verse 19, Wala'ah, Achar, Hana'ar, Laishwath, Hadabar, Kaya, Chapatza, Babath, Yaikwab, Wahawa'ah, Nakabad, Makal, Bayath, Abua, verse 20, Wayaba'ah, Hamawar, Washakam, Bunwa, Al Sha'ar, Iram, Wayadabar, Al Anasha, Ayarim, La'amar, verse 21, Ha'nashim, Ha'alah, Shalomium, Athunwa, Waishabwa, Barataza, Waischarwa, Atha, Warataza, Hana, Rachabath, Yadyum, Lapunyum, Ath, Banathum, Aquak, Lanawa, Lanashap, Lanashim, Wa'ath, Benathinawa, Athun, Lahum, and back to the English from verse 15. But in this we will consent unto you, if you will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. And so now this is the setup. Remember, they're saying we can't do this. We can't give our sister to someone that's uncircumcised. That's not our culture. But if you all get circumcised, verse 16, then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then will we take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. And I'm sure they said, well, all we got to do is that, and then we just tell everybody else in our country to get circumcised, and I can have her. Bam. Verse 19. And the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter. So he was so in love with our sister that he agreed quickly, easily, sure. That's all you want me to do? Got it, done. And he was more honorable than all the house of his father. Verse 20. And Hamor and Shechem, and let's pause and make sure we break that down correctly, because that honorable obviously does not mean that the way that the way that we use that word, it's not saying that he was a good man or a respectable man. But when you go into this word in the Hebrew, nakabad, this is a word that just means heavy, and it can be in a bad sense, like burdensome, severe. It can be a good sense, honorable. Now, the way that you should take this here is he was more serious, like he was willing to do the thing that they asked him to do. And so that's why he agreed to this quickly. Verse 20, and Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city and communed with the men of their city, saying, verse 21, these men are peaceable with us. Therefore let them dwell in the land and trade therein, for the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein, well, not yet. We're going to pause and go back to the Hebrew, and then we're going to find out what happens here. Verse 22 in the Hebrew.
Oh, Slucky, what chapter?
34.
What?
Ak Bazaath, Ya'athwa, Lanwa, Hanashim, La Shabbath, Athnua, La Hayawath, La Aim, Achad, Bahamawal, Lanwa, Kal, Zakar, Ka'ashar, Hum, Namalium, verse 23, Maquanum, Waquanium, Wakal, Bahamathum, Halawa'ah, Lanwa, Hum, Ak Nawatha, Lahum, Waishabwa, Athua, verse 24, Waishamawa, Al Hamawar, Wa Al Shakum, Bunwa Kal, Yatazaya, Sha'ar, Ayarwa, Wayamalwa, Kal Zakar, Kal Yatazaya, Sha'ar, Ayarwa, verse 25, Wayhaya, Baywum, Hashalyasha, Bahayathum, Ka'abium, Wayakwakwa, Shanya Bunyayaikwa, Shemaiwan, Walaya, Akhya Dayana, Ayath, Karabwa, Wayabaawa, Al Ha'ayar, Bata, Hayaharagwa, Kal Zakar, verse 26, Wa'ath Hamawar, Wa'ath Shakum, Bunwa, Haragwa, Lapia, Harab. If any of y'all recognize that name in the Hebrew, you know where we're going in the English next. Wa'akwakwa, Athdaina, Mabayat Shakum, Wa'atazawa, verse 27, Bunyayakwab, Bawa, Al Hakalalyum, Wayabazwa, Hayar, Ashar, Tamawa, Akwathium, verse 28, Ath Tazanyum, Wa'ath Bakrum, Wa'ath Khamarium, Wa'ath Ashar, Ba'ayar, Wa'ath Ashar, Bashadah, Akwakwa. And we're going to go back to the English and shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate everybody that let us know when we had sound issues. Glad we got that sorted out. Shout out to y'all for rocking out with us. The Waya Allah, Kiana, Naam Ana, Yaquar, DK, Bruce, young man, Bruce. Shout out to all of y'all. We're going to go back to English and find out what happened when a heathen defiled our sister. And listen. Just a word of advice. Don't do it. Verse 22 in the English. Only herein will the men consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people. If every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. So now, again, this is Hamor and Shechem, the prince of his son that defiled our sister, has come to their city. And they're telling everybody that they're about to get circumcised, because if this is all we have to do for me to get this woman, y'all doing it. And so now he's telling everybody you're all going to circumcise yourselves today. Verse 23, shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. So, like a politician, he's selling it on the people. He's saying, look, y'all all going to benefit from this. It's not just me. Verse 24, and unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city. So they all did it. The entire city of men circumcised themselves all in one day. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever heard this, but whenever you talk about circumcising adults, they say it's really complicated. It's really painful. That's why in our culture you're supposed to do it as a baby. You're supposed to do it as a baby. That's it. Lord give you a certain day, you do it. You don't remember it, that's it. But if you do it as an adult, it's apparently it's very difficult. So here we are. They knew this. Verse 25. And it came to pass on the third day when they were sore. So now this whole entire city of men are in great pain in their private areas. They're sore, they're healing, they're just, you can only imagine. I can't imagine, but They must not want to do nothing right now. They just probably all trying to sleep it off. That two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. Just visualize that for a second. Just let that sink in. These brothers went out, and that's why the scripture says that they are brethren, that they're closer than all the other tribes. And fast forward, and these tribes end up as the Dominicans and the Haitians on the same island. They went into this city knowing that every man in the city would be in awful pain for a man, and not in the mood to do much of anything. And they went house to house, just running up in people's houses with their swords and running them straight through every single man of the nation that was so ridiculously stupid as to violate their sister. And that sounds beautiful. That's power as a nation. That's what's supposed to happen.
Right.
If you're just living peacefully, and a heathen nation that has no place interacting with us except, business or whichever way we allow, decides to defile our sister, that nation just forfeited whatever right they had to exist in peace. And this was their leader. This was the son of their prince. And you can imagine the type of person this is. He was raised to have the arrogance to think that he could have anything. That he could have anything. His father would make it right. You see these types of people today. These are all the Edomites all around you. They think they can do anything, and if they got a well-connected father, that their father's just going to make everything all good. Y'all seen it a million times. Verse 26. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of a sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out. And you can imagine the satisfaction after they've been practicing all morning, taking everybody else out, and they finally get to this house, and they take both of them out and take their sister and dip. Sounds beautiful. It's absolutely righteous. Most High in Christ. Damn right. Verse 27. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city because they had defiled their sister. So they went back. Now they got their sister. They probably sent her home, and they went back through every house. And y'all dead now. You don't need this. You don't need this right here no more. You don't need this. We're just going to take this off your hands. And they spoiled the city for everything. Verse 28, they took their sheep and their oxen and their asses and that which was in the city and that which was in the field. So you can imagine they left out that morning. They said, hey, Pops, we'll be back in a little bit. We just got some errands to run. We're just going to go into town. And they came back with bloody, dripping swords, herds of sheep and oxen and cattle. And their sister. This is a movie scene. This is a movie scene. They left out and came back with a whole city worth of cattle and their sister and blood dripping off their swords. The why? Verse 28. Oh, we're going to come back. We're going to go back to the Hebrew. Verse 29 in the Hebrew. Wa'af kal Kalum, Wa'af kal Tapum, Wa'af Nasham, Shabwa, Wa'abazwa, Wa'af Kalashar, Babayath, verse 30, Wa'amar Yaquab, Al Shemaiwan, Wa'alaya, Ikarathum, Athia, Lahabayat, Lahabat Ashnua, Bayashab Harataza, Vakananya, Parazia, wa Anya Mathia, Masapar, Wanasapwa, Alia, Wakawanya, Wanashamathia, Anya Wabayathia, verse 31, Wayamarwa, Hakazawana, Waisha, Akawathnoa, verse 30, chapter 35 and verse 1. Wayamar, Alahayim, Al Yaiquab, Kowum, Ilah, Bayath, Al Washab, Shom Aisha, Shom Mazabach, La'ala, Hanara'ah, Aliyaka, Babaraka, Mapunya, Aishua, Achiaka. Verse 2.
Everybody going? Oh, I said, oh, never mind. So, you can't come. It's a lot of south, right?
Chapter 35 and verse 1. Way Amar Lahayim, Al Yaiquab, Kowum, Ilah, Bayathala, Washab, Shum, Ba'aisha, Shum Mazabach, La'Allah, Hanara'ah, Aliyaka, Babaraka, Mapunya, Aishua, Achiaka, verse 2. Way Amar Yaiquab, Al Bayathwa, Wa Al Kal, Ashar, Imwa, Hasarwa, Ath Alahaya, Hanakar, Ashar, Bathkam, Wataharwa, Wahakaliyapwa, Shemalathicum, verse 3. Wanakumma, Wanaila, Bayathala, Wa'aisha, Shum, Hazabach, La'Allah, Ha'aina, Athia Bayawum, Hazarathia, Wayahaya, Aimadia, Badarak, Ashar, Halakathia, verse 4. Wayathunwa, Al Yaiquab, Athkal, Alahaya, Hanakar, Ashar, Bayadum, Wa'ath, Hanazumyum, Ashar, Bazanyum, Wayatamun, Athum, Yaiquab, Takath, Ha'Allah, Ashar, Aim Shakum, verse 5. Wayasaiwa, Wayahaya, Chethath, Alahayim, Al Ha'arium, Ashar, Sabayabathikum, Wala'ah, Radapwa, Acharya, Banya Yaiquab. Back to the English. From verse 29, and all their wealth and all their little ones, even and their wives took they captive and spoiled even all that was in the house. Now, just pause for a quick second, because there's some of these clowns out there that make something, sexual out of taking their wives captive, and they actually use scriptures like this to justify having sex with whoever they want to have sex with. And that's wild. Because nowhere in here does it say that they took them for wives. It says they took them captive. And we're not rapists in Israel. That's against our laws. So we don't take women captive to have sex with them. We don't take anybody captive to have sex with them. Because some of y'all need to hear that, I guess. I don't know what's going on in your mind when you read this, but that's not what happened. They killed all the men because it was the men who did this thing. It was a man who did this thing, and the men of the nation are who the nation is. Right? You kill all the men in the nation, you kill that nation. But you know, their women can still serve somebody somewhere, do some work somewhere, I'm sure. Maybe they just had compassion on them and let them go somewhere else. But nowhere does it say that it took them to wives. Verse 30. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, you have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I, being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And Jacob fairly is nervous, right? He's saying, wait a minute, you just went out there and just ran through this whole city and killed everybody and took all their stuff. They're not the only nation out here. There's Canaanites and Perizzites and everybody else, and there's just 13 of us and some women. You want to make us the villains in the whole region? Verse 31, and they said, should he deal with our sister as with an harlot? Meaning, are we going to let that pass? What else would you want us to do? You want us to just let that happen? No, Simeon and Levi went out to make a statement. To let everybody in the region know that you cannot do such a thing to an Israelite woman. And that's how you protect your women. Not all this nonsense out here that they pushing in social media, where protect black women means to listen to them and do whatever they say. Protect black women, according to social media, means follow and be led by black women. And they got to the point where men are saying this. They had some goofy black man summit last week, right before the election, that this soft, moist Negro D.L. Hewley set up. And they had, all these very refined, well-educated professional brothers, and they were saying the most ridiculous, soft, effeminate things. And there was one brother, when they started having this conversation about protect black women, and he went into this whole thing about how it's listening to them and following them and, realizing that you don't know nothing and you got to listen to her. And that's abdicating your responsibility as a man. You are a man. Your brain works a certain way for a reason. You have strength for a reason. You have the rationality and the logic that you have for a reason. It's to protect your woman. Among other things, obviously, but in this context, it's to protect your woman. You don't, it's not an insult to a woman to say that women are emotional. They're not, they usually lead with emotion, not with logic. They're not equipped to make decisions. They're equipped to do lots of beautiful things and extremely important things and valuable things without which a nation can't function. But they're not equipped to lead. Your responsibility as a man is to be the leader. And most men, even the men who get that concept, don't get what it really means. But right here, we're talking about men who don't even get that concept. Right? Protecting your women in a nation means having strong masculinity, having strong manhood, having strong male leadership. And then the women can just exist. Women are not there to lead. Women are there to do their thing. Being protected means you can just exist. You ain't got to worry about nothing else. You ain't got to worry about trying to lead nothing. You ain't got to worry about the complex things and conversations that men are having. Men are being judges. Men are giving counsel. Men are fixing situations. Men are stepping into the middle of things. Women are just taking care of the kids, holding down the house, going shopping, whatever. They're existing because they're protected. They're not being listened to. They're being given a structure, given a lane, and being protected. Back to the scriptures. Chapter 35. Yeah, social media is a joke. It's all propaganda. That's a fact. If you got a woman that gets her thoughts from social media, just, you either got to fix her or just. And obviously, when I say that, if she's already a woman, you can't wash your hands with her. You got to fix it. You walked into that one. But that's a difficult one to fix, is a woman that's highly affected by social media. Chapter 35 and verse 1. And God said unto Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto God, that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said unto his household and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments. Now, we don't know what these strange gods are, but Jacob was just saying, if you're doing anything stupid, get rid of it now. Verse 3, And let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all their earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Shechem. And they journeyed. And the terror. Now, real quick on earrings. Earrings are perfectly lawful. There's many scriptures where it talks about the jewelry and the earrings and nose rings that we had as a people. So there's some context here as to why Jacob wanted to get rid of them. But they're perfectly fine and lawful for men and women. If that's your style, rock it. Our people have always been fly with jewelry and accessories and everything. That's part of our culture. We were showing the rest of the world how to do it. Verse 5, And they journeyed, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were round about them, and they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. So they heard what they did, and they fell back. They said, you see them cats traveling through? You heard what happened with them in Shechem over there? Man, leave them dudes alone. Back to the Hebrew. 35 and verse 6. Wayaba'a Yaquab Lawazah Ashar Baratazah Kana'ain Hawa'a Bayathalah Hawa'a Wakal Ha'im Ashar Imwa. Verse 7. Wayabun Sham Mazabach Wayakura Lamakuwam Allah Bayathalah Kayasham Nagalwa Aliwa Halahayim Babarakwa Lapanya Akua Wathamath Dabra Mayanakwath Rabkwa Wathokabar Mathachath Abayathala Tachaf Ha'alwan Waikura Shamwa Alwan Bakawath. Verse 9. Wair'a Alahayim Aliyaquab Iwad Babawa Mapadanaram Wayabarak Salaki Wayabaraka Athwa. Verse 10. Wayamar Lawa Alahayim Shamka Yaquab La'a Yakura Shamka Iwad Yaquab Kayam Yasha'ala Yahaya Shamka Wayakura Ashamwa Yasha'ala. Verse 11. Wayamar Lawa Alahayim Anya Allah Shadya Para Wadaba Goya Wakwaha Goyam Yahaya, Mamaka, Wamalakium, Wamakalatazayaka, Watazawa, verse 12, Wa'ath Harataza, Ashar, Nathathia, La Abraham, Wala Yasashak, Laka, Athanah, Wala Zariaka, Acharika, Athan, Ath Harataza. We're going to go back to the English real quick. Verse 35, chapter 35, and verse 5. Slakia, and verse 6. So Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is Bethel, he and all the people that were with him. And he built there an altar and called the place El Bethel, because there God appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother. So Bethel in the Hebrew is Bayath Allah, that's house of the power. Verse 8, but Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak, and the name of it was called Alon Bachath. And God appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Padanaram and blessed him. And God said unto him, thy name is Jacob, thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. And so last week we ran through the story where Jacob, wrestled with the angel all night, and his name was. Let's go back to that verse real quick, because he was on his way to reunite with his brother Esau. Just gonna go back to that real quick. Where are we at? Chapter 33, it should be. Now, chapter 32, in verse 27, and this was after they strove all night. Well, verse 26, and the angel said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed. So now fast forward, he built this altar, and God appeared to him, and he gave him that same blessing. In verse 11, and God said unto him, I am God Almighty. And that's what we heard in the Hebrew, Al Shaddai. That's what Christians in the Christian church, they like to say El Shaddai. That's what that means, almighty power. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. And God went up from him in the place where he talked with him. We're going to go back to the Hebrew right there, verse 13. We're going to read that over in the Hebrew. Vaya'al ma'ali wa alahayim v'makolum ashar dabar athwa. Verse 14. Vayatazab yaikwab matazabah v'makolum ashar dabar athwa matazabath abun wayasak aliyah nasak Wayatazak, Aliyah Shaman, verse 15, Wayakura Yaquab, Asham, Hamakuam, Ashar, Dabar Athwa, Sham Alahayim, Bayathala, verse 16, Wayasaiwa, Mabayathala, Wayahaya, Iwad, Kabarath, Harataza, Labawa'ah, Apratha, Wathalad, Rachal, Wathakwash, Baladatha. Verse 17, Wayahaya, Ba'akwashatha, Baladatha, Wathamar, La, Hamayaladath, Al Thairaya, Kaya Gumza Lakbun, verse 18. Wayhaya Batazaf, Nakasha Kaya, Matha, Wathakura, Shamwa, Bun Awanya, Wa'abua, Koralawa, Bun Yumyan. Back to the English. Verse 13, and God went up from him in the place where he talked with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone. And he poured a drink offering thereon, and he poured oil thereon. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spake with him, Bethel. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephraim. And Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt have this son also. And it came to pass, as her soul was in departing, for she died, that she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. And this is a heavy scripture that we're going to leave off, because that's the end for today. Rachel, the wife that Jacob loved the most with all his heart, the one that he labored for 14 years for, just passed away, giving birth to Benjamin. And but as a reminder, even in the midst of all that, she gave him a name, and his father gave him a different name. Because you're the father, you're the man, you're the husband, you make the decisions. It's that simple. There's nothing emotional about it. There's nothing emotional. Nobody was going to, if that was today, somebody would have shamed him. They would have said, your dying wife's last wish was to name your son Benoni, and you named him Benjamin. What a horrible man you are. But in our culture, there's nothing emotional about it. You're the man. It's your job to name the child. It's that simple. So we're going to leave off there. I imagine here. Yun. Layasha'ala, which means to Israel. Imagine, which means for everyone to stand, turn and face the east. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abinawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash Hayah, Shamkad Yahweh, Malakas Taba'arat Zaka, Hayah Shab, Arataza, Kawa, Hayah Bashemayim, Nathunnawa, Lachum Kalyawam, Wasalaknawa, Kawaknawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawakinawa, Wala'ah, Dabayanawa, Manasewan, Abal, Hawashanawa, Mayan Ra, Kayalaka, Kabalakwas, Wa'ala, Wasparath, Iwalumyum, Aman. In English, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Yahweh. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. So be it. Amen. The prayer for the power structure in the Hebrew, Barakatah Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shai, Wa Mayak Allah, Wa Alahayim, Matazabi Alawap Yahana, Halwapim, Hasranyim, Hakazanyim, Hakrayalim, Wa Akwathim, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, the Wada Aman. In the English, bless you, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, commanding general Yohanan, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and assistants. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Prayer for the prophesied curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, listen to us now, right now. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against us, thy prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the school. Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction to the heathen, and shake loose the treasure of the rich of Israel to refuse to give to the school. Force their riches to enter into thy sanctuary. Send evils and curses and punishment and destruction to the Edomites, the nations, the drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, Islam, Christianity, Egyptology, militia, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan nations, skinheads, posse comitatus, the gay movement, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space programs, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street, open up the internet and the airwaves, the cable access channels and the radio channels. Convict the spirit of any of thy people that seek to stop us, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your words throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues. Cause them to go to and fro through the earth and consume them. Let the plagues shake the house of the thief and the murderer. Let Yahushua, Michael and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers and punish all the heathens that come up against us as we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all that it is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread through the media throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahushua, thank you always. So be it. And with that, we're going to conclude this week's Sabbath service. Next week, we're going to resume right where we left off in the 35th chapter of Genesis at the 19th verse. How about Shem Yahushua Barakatah to the brothers, Yahushua Malatham, Bashem Yahushua to the sisters. Shalom.